Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to everybody's favorite show about plastic surgery, health, and beauty. This is Nip Talk. On today's episode, first off, microplastics. What are they? Are they bad for your health? We're going to talk about it. And then visceral fat versus subcutaneous fat. There's a big difference, and it makes a big difference if you're thinking about liposuction. And then finally, Sarah's going to tell us all about Grammy 2025 fashion, and it's all coming up right now.
Center in the heart of the Dallas
like
Metroplex. This is Nip Talk, an honest and uncensored show about plastic surgery, health, beauty, and lifestyle. With your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and your co-host, entrepreneur and social media influencer Sarah Bennett. Now it's time to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the topics everyone is talking about. It's time for Nip Talk.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on those notifications. I'm your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and with me is Sarah, as always.
Hi.
I love your top, Sarah. I was
Thanks.
telling her before we started, I was like, that top's super cute.
It's got little bows on it.
It does, super nice. Also with a very cute top is Travis in the box.
I appreciate it.
What's
Thank
up,
you
man?
so
How you
much.
doing?
I'm good. How about y'all?
Pretty
Doing
good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a good week. Yeah. Man, I don't have anything too exciting going on.
No Super Bowl party?
Oh, Super Bowl. Yeah, you know, I'm not a big NFL guy. I only know who's playing because somebody was talking about it, and
Yeah.
they were talking about who they were rooting for, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know who was playing. But I do know it's the Chiefs and the Eagles.
There we go.
And I know Travis Kelce plays for the Chiefs because he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend,
Sure.
and that's the only player I could name on either team. And I probably should give him my man card.
I'm for the Chiefs.
For the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Who are you for, Trey? You got a team?
I'm going for the Eagles.
I have really no idea.
There's like this thing where everybody thinks that the refs are like wanting the Chiefs to win. Like there's
Like,
some
who's
kind
the
of
better team? Like,
conspiracy.
I have no idea. Who's the better team? Are they about the same?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, the Chiefs probably will be considered the better team. Like, if the Chiefs win, this will be the third year in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be
If
the
they
third
won.
year in a row?
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
I don't want them to win. I hate when there's like one team that wins. I'm definitely rooting for the
Oh,
Eagles.
they're pretty good, but
Yeah.
they do get a lot of. Apparently, they get a lot of like calls that everybody's like,
So, like,
if
the
that
refs.
was another team,
Uh,
they wouldn't have gotten away with it.
who's playing at the halftime show?
Kendrick Lamar.
yeah.
Oh, Kendrick Lamar. Okay.
Yeah, and then he has like
Yeah.
Sia. Has that?
Oh,
how you say
Sia's
it?
going to be there too?
Yeah, I think she's playing with him, right?
SZA?
SZA.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
not Sia.
I
SZA.
think she'll be there.
My favorite year was the year it was Dre, Snoop, and Eminem.
Yeah.
Oh, and
that
I
was a
think
good year.
there was somebody else there too, but I remember those three. I was
It
like,
was Rihanna.
50
I remember
Cent.
Rihanna was
yeah, Rihanna.
pregnant.
Dude, that year was
Yeah.
epic, man. I didn't watch it live, but when I heard, I was like, I went and watched that video. It was like that was a great halftime show.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a team, but I am gonna root for the Eagles because I just think that
They deserve to win.
I don't know if they deserve to win, but I just think that the Chiefs probably deserve to lose because they've won it like 2 years in a row. Come on, man, share the wealth, right? I mean, 2 years in a row, that's fine, but 3, you're just being like a bully.
I wouldn't mind seeing the history made, though.
What's history? The three-peat?
Yeah, it's never been done before.
Oh, it hasn't?
Yeah, it's never been done before, so
Oh.
I would like to see history made.
Who's the quarterback for the Chiefs?
Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes. I knew that. Oh, I didn't know that, but now you said I'm like, yeah, I knew that,
I heard the name.
but I didn't.
Once or twice. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes. And Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for the Eagles.
Jalen Hurts. I remember him from when he played in college. I remember that name.
He's from Houston, if I'm not mistaken. So,
okay. Is
yeah.
he? Yeah. Like, I follow college, like, really closely, but then once they get to the NFL, it's just, like, they're dead to me.
I'm
Yeah,
just
except-
excited for the commercials, I guess, more so than anything.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
We'll probably have it on. Like, Sunday night's kind of our family game night, so we'll be playing games.
Oh, okay, right on.
But we'll probably have it on the background just to
Right on.
Yeah.
see what's up.
There'll be
so.
some funny Bud
All
Light
right, so I'm going to
commercials.
predict, though, it's going to be Eagles 31, Chiefs 27. That's my prediction.
Eagles 31, Chiefs 20. That's a close one, too.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Like, you heard it here first by someone who knows nothing about football. Well, I do know about football. I just don't know about the pros.
I don't think you far off, though. Last time they played each other in the Super Bowl, it was a very high-scoring game.
Was it? Okay. All right, 31-27, Eagles.
Did they play each other? They played each other last year too, right?
I think it was like
in the Super Bowl?
I think it was 2 years ago. In the Super Bowl, they played each other like 2
Oh,
years
they
ago,
did?
I believe. Yeah.
You know what's sad is I used to really like the NFL, and I just don't.
Which team did his brother play for? I
Whose
forget.
brother?
Travis Kelce.
Oh, he played for the Eagles.
Yeah.
That's when they played
And they
each
had
other.
to play against each
Oh,
other.
they
Yeah,
did?
They
Oh,
played
wow.
against each other.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I remember.
We'll see what happens. All right, moving on to some actually pretty interesting segments today. I was pretty proud of myself after putting the segment list together, plus the Grammy fashions, always one of my favorites. All right, have you guys heard of these microplastics?
Yeah.
You have heard of them?
Uh-huh. I've heard
Do you
of
guys know about them?
Yeah, a little bit.
You do? Oh, well, you guys are ahead of me. I didn't really know about this. It's funny, like sometimes things pop up, and I'm kind of embarrassed I didn't know about it. But I saw an article about these last year about microplastics accumulating in our bodies, and I thought it was a joke. You know, I mean, you never know what to believe anymore, right? So the first time I saw it, I was like, this is not
There's
real.
the microplastics in your body telling you not to read it.
I know, right? They're brainwashing me. But this is actually a pretty interesting segment about microplastics and health risks. As I said, I first heard about these a year ago, but there's been actually some media articles about this for many years, actually. It kind of first started when they noticed that there was these big, enormous floating garbage piles in the ocean that are mostly made up of plastics. But what made me actually kind of really get serious about it is there was a journal article that just came out very recently, which we'll talk about at the end, that basically was talking about how there is accumulation of plastics in the body is increasing. And I was like, well, okay, if medical journals are talking about this now, I need to like get up to speed. So I've asked a few people. It sounds like you guys are smarter than the average bear because both of you seem like you know more than a lot of people asked about it. So for those who don't, I'm going to get you up to speed on microplastics. What are they? Well, they're very tiny plastic particles. So microplastics are defined as plastic particles less than 5 millimeters. And then there's another subdivision called nanoplastics, which is a piece of plastic smaller than a micrometer. So a micrometer would be 1/1000th of a millimeter. So pretty small. And nanoplastics will become important in a minute. So where are these things found? Like they're literally found everywhere. I don't know if you guys know this, but these microplastics are obviously in the ocean, they're in our freshwater water systems, they're in the soil, the food, the air. These things are basically all around us. They originate in two different ways. So there's primary microplastics. So primary microplastics is when some company makes a very small plastic piece to accomplish some goal in a product. So like microbeads that might be like in a cosmetic or like an abrasive type thing, or abrasive materials like more industrial. That would be a primary microplastic because it's made like that.
Like what's that stuff that's like sheetrock? Not sheetrock, but the insulation.
Spackle?
That's like that stuff that's like almost it like if it gets on your skin, it like makes you itchy.
Fiberglass.
Yes. Is
Uh,
that a plastic? I know it's glass, but
No, that's not a plastic.
Okay.
I think it's synthetic, obviously, but I don't think it's not like a polymer like plastic.
okay.
So that would be different. But you're on the right track, like industrial type products.
Yeah.
So the main source of microplastics is from secondary microplastics. Now, as you guys could probably guess if I put you on the spot, which I'm not going to do, secondary microplastics is when bigger pieces of plastic just break down over time. And this happens in the ocean. Continual water agitation can cause the breakdown of plastics over years, just exposure to the elements, and just general degradation. So these microplastics are out there, right? So how do we get them? How do they get in? Because the gist of this is that they're collecting in our bodies. How does that happen? Well, the biggest exposure is ingestion.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, like this article that I read really kind of soured me because one of the first things it says is that microplastics are very high content in seafood, most specifically bivalves, which is oysters, which I love.
Yeah, because they filter the ocean.
Yeah, they filter the ocean, and they suck these microplastics up, and then they get caught in their bodies, and then I eat all these oysters like 24/7. I'm probably laden with microplastics. So seafoods, table salt has it, bottled water, like water that's sealed in a bottle has microplastics
With plastic, though.
Yeah. Processed foods have also a lot of microplastics in them. So outside of like eating or drinking these things, you can also inhale them because the smaller particles can become airborne in dust or city pollution. Also, if you wear synthetic clothes, like you can actually have microplastics that shed
Yeah, I'm
from
wearing
the clothes.
like spandex. That's
So I
plastic,
guess that
right?
means, we should all wear cotton or hemp. I don't know.
If it has stretch and it has plastic in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, synthetic furnitures can shed these microplastics. The other way that you can get exposed to these is directly on your skin. So that would be like the products like we were talking about. Textiles also have a lot of microplastics. So, okay, we know what these things are. We know where they come from. We know how you get exposed to them. Are they harmful?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think? Think these are bad for us?
Yes.
I mean, I just can't imagine that plastic accumulate in your body can be healthy.
No.
But to be bluntly honest, like I try to always be, it is actually unknown what the health risks are for these microplastics.
Yet.
There's a lot of research ongoing right now, but there is no clear-cut evidence that at this point that they're harming us. However, health authorities, doctors who know about microplastics, which is obviously not me, I do have concerns. So the concerns involve these things accumulating in enough amounts in our tissue to either cause inflammation or to cause organ dysfunction. Because when you think about something like cancer, the way cancer kills you is it just accumulates in an organ, and then eventually the organ doesn't work as well, and then the organ fails. And of course, some organs are more vulnerable to that, like the brain. The heart would probably be another one. Versus the liver, like you can go without a large chunk of your liver and kind of keep on clicking. They also worry that that some of these particles have chemicals in them. Like some of these plastics naturally have harmful chemicals like bisphenol A and phthalates, which apparently are toxic chemicals that sometimes are embedded in plastics. Also that these things can harbor bacteria, which is true. I mean, going to my surgical background, any foreign object in your body is a threat of harboring bacteria.
Yeah.
Because when you have something foreign in your body, and that could be a breast implant, I mean, it could be a pacemaker or like an artificial hip. If bacteria get on that object, it's almost impossible for your body to clear it because we have a very good immune system which can kill bacteria, but it can only kill it if it has contact with blood vessels, right? Because the blood carries our white blood cells, which attack things. And when there's something artificial in your body, it's like a harbor. If the bacteria shed off of it, then the body gets them, but you can get these smoldering infections from artificial objects in your body, which that does start to sound dangerous.
Yeah.
If these things are accumulating. So how do these things get into our tissues? Well, when you eat these nanoplastics or drink them or whatever, if they're large, they pass through. They just go out in your stool. So I would assume that the overwhelming majority of microplastics that we eat just pass right through us. However, the very smallest ones, the smaller nanoplastics, so a nanoplastic is defined as less than 1,000 nanometers, which is 1 micrometer. Okay, so anything less than 200 nanometers can pass through our blood vessels, just like the little the breakdown of the fatty acids and proteins from our food that pass into our gut. So can these smaller nanoplastics, and then they get swept up into the bloodstream, and they go through the blood vessels until they get into really, really small blood vessels, and then they get caught, and that's...
Just like you could have like a stroke or like...
I don't think that they're causing anybody a stroke. I guess they don't clog your blood vessels. I didn't see anything about that. I said that, and then I said, I was like, no, that's not really
I'm like,
happening.
can you get a heart attack? Can you have cardiovascular issues?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe
no one
eventually?
really knows.
Yeah.
Is it possible that these things are doing things like that? I mean, yeah, I guess so. No one knows for sure.
I wonder how long, when nanoplastics get in your body, how long it might take. Since obviously plastic degrades, I wonder how long it takes your body to degrade the plastic.
I'm not sure. I don't think anyone knows. I mean, I started, pulling research articles about this, and the data is very thin.
Yeah.
So speaking of data, the article that kind of spawned me looking at this as a topic is the Journal of Nature Medicine, and this actually just came out this week. This is a brand new article, and I always make a copy of it, and I didn't. I do have pictures. Let's show them. Hey, so let's show people what nanoplastics. Show that second picture, Trey. Yeah, so those are nanoplastics. They're kind of pretty, honestly. Those are microplastics. The next one are the nano. Show that next one, Trey. Yeah, so those are the nanoplastics. And they're probably even smaller than that, because I'm not sure that those are less than a micrometer. Maybe some of the little small
Yeah,
pieces.
it looks like it's just a big clump of them.
Yeah, it looks like a big clump of nanoplastics. It looks kind of like it would be harmful if it's inside you. Yeah.
100%.
Well, anyway, I didn't clip
plastic
the
flakes floating around.
article from this journal, but I'm gonna tell you what it is if you want to look it up. It's the Journal of Nature Medicine. It was released in February of 2025, so it is brand new. And this study looked at autopsies from 2016 versus 2024, so a span of 8 years. And they looked at tissues to see if there were any microplastics or nanoplastics in them. They looked at liver, kidney, and brain. And the most shocking thing, there's two shocking things in this study. Number one, between 2016 and 2024, there was a 50% increase in the amount of microplastics that they found in brain tissue. Like, that's a lot. That means that we're absorbing more of these things.
Yeah.
The other thing that was concerning is that in the autopsies of patients who had dementia, there was 10 times as much microplastic buildup in the brain as there was in non-dementia patients. And so that brings up a big question of, is this an issue where microplastic accumulation in the brain is causing dementia, or is it that when you get dementia, it allows more of these microplastics to accumulate? They don't know the answer to that, because the snap judgment might be, microplastics are causing dementia because these brains have more in them, and that's not known. So, I mean, it's a possibility, but it's just not known at this point.
Well, did you find anything? I've always heard or saw, because it's big on social media, microplastics.
I have seen a couple things, but not a lot.
I've seen a lot of it having to do with hormones, it disrupting your endocrine system, and specifically with men.
I did not see anything
it causes
specific
them
to
to
that.
have issues with erectile dysfunction and all that kinds of stuff, like low testosterone.
Oh,
all
now that
kinds
you
of
mentioned
crap.
that, somebody asked me if I'd seen the article about it accumulating in the testes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the testicles. In the article I read, it didn't mention that, but they were looking at specific organ systems. But once again, I think the data on this is really thin. I mean, I think it's something that we know is happening, but we don't really know.
Because it's new.
It's new,
when did we ever think that we were going to be
absorbing plastic?
accidentally?
We're going to be like Plastic Man.
Yeah. We're going to have to start taking medicine to
Just purge our plastics.
make our stomachs more acidic so we can
we dissolve it.
Yeah.
So, this brings
Take
up
our plastic dissolving pill once a month.
I know, right? We need to alter our genes. So, I mean, I guess, the first question that pops up is should the average American worry about microplastics? I think it's definitely something that we want to keep on top of and follow the research.
I think maybe what I've been doing, instead of recently I got rid of a lot of my plastic Tupperware that I put in the microwave and I reheat stuff with. I've replaced it with glass.
Okay.
So the glass Tupperware. It has
Specifically,
plastic lids.
did you do that because of this microplastic thing?
Yeah, because I was
You did? Wow, Sarah, you're ahead of the curve.
Because I thought it was I don't want to use, whatever I can do to prevent it further. I usually don't buy plastic water bottles ever unless I have to.
Wow.
But obviously I'm drinking out of plastic right here.
Yeah, you try to avoid it when you can.
Yeah.
So that does bring up the last part of this segment, is how to reduce your exposure, and you hit a lot of things on the head. Not using single-use plastics, so water bottles. Single-use water bottles. I think the single-use are more likely to shed than others. At least that's what the article was kind of indicating.
Definitely.
Things in plastic packaging, which is literally everything. Avoiding synthetic textiles. Using water filters, because there is a lot of this. If you drink water out of the tap, you definitely want a really good water filter on it. using or eating fresh foods over processed foods. Fresh foods have much less microplastics in them than processed foods. And then using air filters to kind of keep it out of out
I'd
of
be
the
interested
circulation
to
from-
see the demographics of those dementia patients, if they were in low-income areas, so that they probably did eat more
eating worse
processed
food.
food.
I mean, it's possible. I don't know if I don't think the article went into that much detail, but I'll pull it back up and take a look. I think that probably this is something we're going to be talking about again in the future. I feel like this year there's going to be some more articles come about microplastics, because it's kind of hitting that critical mass where, right now I think a lot of people don't know about them, but some people do, and it's just going to kind of keep spreading, and then it's going to become a bigger thing.
It's going to get on somebody's algorithm.
Yeah, right. So, all right, Trey, let's recap this one, buddy. So today on Nip Talk, we were talking about microplastics. What is that? I have to admit that I didn't really know a whole lot about microplastics. I'd seen a couple of things on social media about them. At first, I thought it was fake. I was like, there's no way plastic is accumulating in our body. But the reality is that our bodies are accumulating these microplastics. So where do they come from? They can be primary microplastics, which means that they're actually created by a company. Think of like an abrasive bead that might be in a lotion or something. But most of these are secondary microplastics, where a larger piece of plastic breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces. This can happen in the ocean or just out like in our natural water supplies. And so microplastics are defined as something less than 5 millimeters, and then there's another group called nanoplastics, which is less than a micrometer or a 1/1,000,000th of a meter. Most of these things get into our bodies via ingestion. We eat them or drink them. These things are very heavy in seafood. They can be in our drinking water. They can be in processed foods. We can also breathe them in. There is some concern because these things seem to be accumulating in our tissues. And I was talking today about an article from the Journal of Nature Medicine that showed that over an 8-year period, the amount of microplastics in the brains that were studied by autopsy increased by 50%. Now, there's not a lot of data out there about whether or not these things are actually harming us. There's a lot of research ongoing, but we don't know at this point exactly how harmful these things are. If you want to try to avoid microplastics, you can stop using single-use plastics, avoid plastic packaging, eat more fresh foods over processed foods. It's probably not a bad idea. I think there's going to be a lot more research about this topic coming out in the next year, and we are going to keep you on top of it. So look forward to more segments about the very exciting topic of microplastics. Okay, I got an interesting one here. I think this is a pretty good segment because it's something that some people know about and some people don't. I always like to keep you guys on top of these things so you can impress your friends at the next dinner party you go to. So today we are going. Okay, let me ask you. Do you know there's 2 types of fat?
Yeah.
2 categories. Does that make sense?
Like to ingest?
No, like in our bodies.
Oh, I think so.
Okay, so you have some idea. Trey, 2 types of fat. You heard about this?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so there are definitely 2 types of fat. There is, and this is important in the realm of plastic surgery, which is why it kind of came to my mind, because I'll explain a little bit about how this came about. But there is what's called visceral fat and subcutaneous fat, and they have very different characteristics and health implications. So I'm going to give you guys a crash course in these. So visceral fat would also be called internal fat, and this is fat that is deep in the abdominal cavity that surrounds our organs, all right? So it's below our abdominal wall, which is our 6-pack, well, or 8-pack if I'm talking about myself, but 6-pack for most people. So visceral fat, because viscera means organ, okay? That's like I don't know if it's Latin, but when I hear the word viscera, I automatically think organ. So visceral fat is fat around our organs. This fat is not visible. You can't see it, but it can be felt. And the most classic way that you might imagine visceral fat is the beer belly.
Yes.
When you feel, if a guy's got a very protuberant stomach and you feel it, it's often very hard versus the more soft fat that a woman might have. You can more feel this than see it. So what is its function? Well, it protects our organs. It actually does something. If you're in a car crash and you have visceral fat, you're less likely to get an organ injury because it serves as a buffer or a cushion for your organs, which may get jostled should you be subject to some trauma. It also, of course, stores energy. There are health risks, though, associated with visceral fat, because visceral fat is definitely not as good for you as subcutaneous fat. People with visceral fat more likely to have type 2 diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, cholesterol. I mean, some of this is the fact that the more visceral fat you have, the more overweight, the more chance you would have of being overweight, which does carry those things. So let's see, I got a picture of, I got one, yeah, there's a diagram of the visceral fat versus subcutaneous. So the picture on the left the yellow obviously is the fat, the pink is representing different organs. And you see how these pictures are different. There's about the same amount of fat on them, but on the picture on the left, the fat's all kind of clustered around the organs, versus the picture on the right, there's really not a lot of fat in there, and it's all on the outside, which would be subcutaneous fat, which we'll talk about in a second. It can be difficult to measure visceral fat and know how much someone has, unless I can kind of get an idea, because this is my whole, career is evaluating people for things like liposuction and whatnot. So I've become very...
Because you liposuction subcutaneous.
Correct.
Fat, so.
Yep. You're kind of getting to what I'm going to be talking about. But you can measure this with a CT scan. I actually got two different CT images. Trey, can you put up that next image for me? Right. So the picture on the left shows visceral fat. So in that image, the dark kind of big black void that I put the X's on is visceral fat. And you'll notice that there is a lot of it in that picture, but it's very different from the picture on the right, where that patient has a lot less visceral fat and more subcutaneous fat. You can see the skin layer there is much further away from the structural part of the body, whether that be rib or muscle, whatever that is, depending on what level that's at. You can see that those pictures are very different, and that the visceral fat is more internal. The thing about visceral fat is it is more influenced by diet, stress, and hormonal factors than subcutaneous fat. And interestingly enough, this was kind of news to me, if you have high stress or poor sleep, you're more likely to accumulate visceral fat.
Yeah, I think we talked about this whenever we were talking about...
Wait, have I done this segment before?
No, I think I did when I was talking about cortisol.
Oh, cortisol, right.
Whenever you're in the fight or flight response,
right.
you have a lot of cortisol, and then your body retains more fat.
True.
Because it thinks it's in danger.
Yeah, that makes sense. So visceral fat is in opposition to subcutaneous fat. So the way to think of subcutaneous, the easiest way to think about these is internal, external. So subcutaneous fat is external. It's just underneath your skin level. This is most likely found in the belly, hips, thighs, butt, breast, and arms. It's the soft, pinchable fat that contributes to the shape of our bodies, versus visceral fat generally doesn't. It also gives women their curves, or men their curves, depending. Its function is for insulation and energy storage. Also, it does provide cushion for skin and muscles. And interestingly enough, I remember, I'll never forget this case. I remember a patient that, when I was a general trauma surgeon, that got shot, and they were, a little heavier person, and the bullet actually was slowed down enough by the fat that it couldn't penetrate the muscle layer of the abdominal wall, which was wild. Bullets obviously are very, very dangerous and very fast.
It's wild.
And the fat slowed it down enough that it potentially saved their life. The other thing that's beneficial from the function standpoint of subcutaneous fat is it produces leptin, which is a hormone that regulates both hunger and metabolism. Health risks for subcutaneous fat is generally less harmful than visceral fat, but if it gets in too much excess, it can contribute to obesity. Subcutaneous fat is more influenced by genetics, calorie balance, and exercise, and it's thought to be much easier to lose than visceral fat. So if you have two people and one has more subcutaneous fat buildup versus someone that has more visceral, the person with the external subcutaneous fat is going to be able to lose that easier. Visceral fat losing is more about your type of diet, the type of foods you eat. You want to eat less processed foods, sugars, and carbs, and also reduce stress, which is one of the reasons you get visceral fat. Versus subcutaneous fat is purely about calorie intake and expenditure and physical activity, so it's less specific. But the biggest thing, and how I kind of got onto this topic, is I'm not sure if you guys know this, but there is a very distinct difference in what type of fat that you have based on if you're a man or a woman. Men are much, much more likely to have visceral fat.
Yeah.
And that's due to the fact that men have less estrogen and more testosterone, which testosterone causes more buildup of visceral fat.
Okay.
Versus estrogen, which is more in women, causes buildup of subcutaneous fat.
That makes sense.
It does. But there is some crossover, and getting back to the reason that I was doing this segment is I just very recently did a pretty significant liposuction on a man, and that's interesting. Why? Well, because most men have visceral fat. I've had several men come to my office with very big bellies, and they're asking for liposuction, and when I feel them, their subcutaneous fat layer might be like this, which is not big at all, but they have this really big belly. Well, how's their belly big? Because they're just all visceral fat.
Yeah.
And occasionally, though, you'll see crossover. I've had, like the patient I did recently, that's a man that had a pretty significant amount of subcutaneous fat. I ended up pulling around 4,000 cc's of fat off him, which is a lot.
I wonder if he has a hormone problem then.
So that's a very, very good question. Either his genetics predispose him to have more subcutaneous fat, or he does have some sort of shift in his hormones. It's kind of like when we talk about gynecomastia, where men get the more feminine chest where it looks like breasts. That's oftentimes also a hormone issue.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference, because in my business I get a lot of people wanting liposuction, and sometimes on the other side of that coin I'll get women that come in that want liposuction and they have visceral fat, and also things like tummy tucks where you're trying to tighten. If there's a lot of visceral fat, it'll resist that tightening because there's so much pressure on the inside. So I think it's important to know the differentiation between these two. Because one, I mean, not that everyone's running out and getting plastic surgery, but whether you have subcutaneous fat or visceral fat does change what your options are, both not just for plastic surgery, but more commonly for how easy it would be to lose that fat, and also how you specifically might go about that. And so, yeah, I think it is kind of a interesting topic. I don't think a lot of people necessarily know that there's a difference in those two things, but it is absolutely different. And also too, from just a pure health standpoint, if you have a lot of visceral fat, you are more prone to have medical conditions from that, versus somebody who has an equal amount of fat, which is subcutaneous. So
good to know.
Yeah, I think it is good to know. So, all right, I guess let me recap that one real quick, Trey, because I think this is one that people might want to know about. So today on Nip Talk, we were talking about the difference between the two types of fat that we might have in our body. And I'm breaking these down into visceral or internal fat versus subcutaneous or external fat. And why is that important? Well, they are very different. Visceral fat is the fat that's around our organs, so it's on the inside of our bodies, which means it's below our abdominal wall muscles. People with visceral fat are more prone to have medical issues from it. They're more prone to have diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, versus people who have an equal amount of subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat is a little bit easier to lose than the visceral. If you have visceral fat, it tends to be more hormonal in nature. People that have higher testosterone levels are more prone to have this visceral fat, which means that men are much more likely to have visceral fat than women. Occasionally you will see some crossover though. I recently was talking about a patient that was a gentleman that I did that had a lot of subcutaneous fat, and he was able to get liposuction. But for the most part, men don't get a lot of liposuction. Why? Because their fat's more internal. The differentiation is important both for the health aspect, whereby visceral fat is more harmful to our bodies overall, but also to know that visceral fat is harder to lose. It's more about the type of foods you eat, wanting to avoid things like processed foods, sugars, and whatnot. Also avoiding stress, because high stress and lack of sleep does contribute to visceral fat, versus subcutaneous fat, which is a little bit easier to lose and just is pure calories in, calories out, and exercise. The final thing is that it does make a difference in liposuction. I've had people come in that wanted liposuction where they actually have more visceral fat, and you cannot liposuction that. Subcutaneous fat, pretty easy to liposuction. So that's why it's kind of a topic that we discuss every now and then in plastic surgery. So visceral fat, subcutaneous fat, they're different. And now you know the difference.
Now we can eat better.
That's
and
right.
Get lower stress.
I didn't realize that stress and lack of sleep. I'm surprised I don't have like an amazing amount of visceral fat because I feel like I don't really feel stressed, but I do not sleep well.
Sure. I'm just kidding.
I feel like I'm good right now. You know, I lost 8 pounds from being sick. I
Yeah,
hit
you
my
told
goal
me,
weight.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said, yeah, I know, you told me.
Yeah, I was really excited. I mean, it's the one silver lining of getting the flu. You can hit your goal weight easier.
Just lose some weight real quick.
Okay, Sarah,
Yes.
the Grammys.
Cool.
It was all over the internet, all those fashions.
It was.
Break it down for us.
I'll just go ahead and get started. You want to throw up the first one? Oh, this is a worst one.
Oh, are these broken down into worst and best?
Well, I think it's all jumbled. That's all right.
Okay.
We'll just get started at the beginning. Let me tell you this guy's name. This is Marcos D1. I don't know who that is. But he's wearing, the description, it just literally says he's wearing a giant silver snake.
Oh,
So that was one of the ones that were
Yeah, I
worst.
don't love that one.
That was strange.
Yeah. All right, what else we got?
Oh, this was a best dress. This is Charlie XCX.
Yeah.
And she is wearing Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Gautier?
Yeah.
I like
That's what
that.
she's wearing. Yeah, I think it's pretty.
Yeah, it's
very
I like
chic.
the very flowing type thing. I mean, it's obviously
Victorian looking.
elaborate and exotic, but I mean, it's the Grammys. You got to wear
Yeah,
stuff like that.
it's
I like that
cool.
one. I give that one. I agree with best dress.
And that's
Ooh.
Olivia Rodrigo. She is wearing vintage.
That's Olivia Rodrigo?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
she's wearing vintage Versace.
I love that. I love
very
things like
pretty.
that are,
Cut out.
yeah, cut out. I just think that they're very chic
It's a
and
classic
elegant.
silhouette, though. So
Huh?
it's classic silhouette.
That's beautiful. I do like that one.
And this is actually best dress. I don't like this outfit at all,
Looks
but
like a
she
tracksuit.
is in best dress. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think Dochi.
Yeah, that's it. Dochi.
Who
And
is
she's wearing
Doechii,
Tom
Trey?
Brown.
She is signed to the same record label as Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, okay. All right.
She's a female.
Oh, I know
rapper.
who she is.
Oh.
I've heard her before.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's wearing Tom Brown. She's wearing pretty much a suit, but it's for a girl, and it's like
Okay.
has a corset. It's also, I think it's chic. I think it has a good silhouette. I wouldn't necessarily wear it.
I just
kinda-
don't like the top part of it necessarily.
Yeah, like I wouldn't necessarily wear the one that Charlie XCX wore,
Yeah.
but it's still pretty. And then of
Oh.
course, Miley Cyrus.
I like that. Is that
She's wearing Saint Laurent. It's a similar silhouette and style to Olivia Rodrigo's, and
Man.
it's leather, obviously.
that's classy. I like that one.
And then this is Sabrina Carpenter. Her dress was all over the place. She usually wears things that are vintage style,
Okay, definitely see that.
like after like Marilyn Monroe, or she has a lot of outfits that are similar to, remember that show, The Nanny?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay, Fran Drescher.
Yeah.
Okay, she always wears stuff
Do
very
you like
similar
that?
to that. Yeah, I think it's really
What do you
pretty.
think, Trey?
I think it's very Hollywood.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I honestly just like Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, so
I don't know what
anything.
it is. There's something about her I
She's
like.
so cute.
I don't like that dress. I mean, I like vintage
Well,
stuff.
if
but
you saw it from the back, you'd like it.
Oh, it's
more.
different.
It's cut out, and the back of it
Is
is
it?
like the thing that's around her
Well,
neck. I should have put a
as
picture.
displayed at
The thing behind her neck, it's like it looks like there's like a huge, beautiful necklace, but
as part of the
it
dress.
gets her
Oh.
back really pretty.
Interesting.
And then this is Benson Boone, and he's best dress,
I like it.
and he is wearing Dolce Gabbana.
I love Dolce. I have a few Dolce jackets.
Dolce, I don't say it right. I don't really know high fashion or like luxury
Yes,
fashion.
you do. You know this stuff.
I guess. Anyways, he wears cool outfits. Anyways.
Yeah, I like that. Looks good.
And then she is, what's her name? She's best dress.
Love
I know
her dress.
That is Ray.
Yeah.
Her dress is Giorgio Armani.
I love Armani.
She looks cute.
Was anybody wearing John Varvatos? Did you ever see that name, Varvatos? That's like my favorite designer. It's like a little bit lesser known, but I
And
love it.
then this is Lady Gaga. She's wearing Vivienne Westwood. I don't know really why she's on best dress. She
Yeah.
looks like she's the Wicked Witch of the West right now.
I don't love that. That's not a fan.
It's not, whatever. And And then Gracie Abrams, she's wearing Chanel.
I like that. See, that's kind of classic to me. That's kind of,
I like the dress. I just don't think I would wear it. She looks cute.
yeah, you
not
have to have
for
the
me,
right
though.
place to wear that.
It's not for me. And then we got,
Rich the Kid is his name.
yeah, that's him. And he's wearing a Anakiki. Anakiki? I don't know how to say that.
It doesn't blow my socks off, but I do like it.
I don't like his shoes, but besides that, I think the the jacket is high fashion, so whatever, but he
Yeah.
looks cool. It looks like he's trying to do something.
It looks good.
He doesn't look like he's trying to wear
Whoa,
a
what
freaking
is-
castle on his head.
What is that?
This is Jaden Smith, and he is wearing Louis Vuitton, like a great suit, and then
What's on his
a
head?
castle on his head.
A castle on his head?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of
Is there like a
of celebrities that are just like making fun of him.
Is there some reason he's wearing a
And
castle?
they're like, I don't know what he's doing, walking around like wearing Adam's Family house on his head, or what's the other
I don't know.
family
The
of
suit
like the
looks nice.
Beetlejuice house on his head?
Beetlejuice. The suit looks good though.
Yeah, he looks
Yeah.
good. There's been a lot of celebrities just making
Yeah.
fun of him, and then his mommy's been getting mad about people making
Oh.
fun of him.
I hate to see that.
Oh,
Oh,
and
that's the
then-
one that everyone was talking about.
Yeah, this is Kanye and his
So-
wife. Her name's Bianca.
Yeah, Bianca. Is that actually a dress?
It's a sheer. It's like literally pantyhose in the shape of a dress.
Yeah, it's
like
not
a
like
mini dress.
It's not like a designer dress though.
I have
right?
no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
Kanye could have designed it. He's a designer.
Yeah, everybody was talking about that. She kind of looked like a hostage when they had like the pictures of them. Like she just
Yeah.
had this kind of blank stare. Like she'd
She
been
always
forced
looks like
into-
that. That's why I was like, she looked like a freaking mannequin.
I mean, she can wear it, but I don't get it. There needs to be more to it than that for me.
I would have been so uncomfortable. Okay, and then we got this lady. Her name's Joy Vila. I do not know who she is.
Is that a dog?
She's wearing a dog necklace, and
I didn't know if she had like a dog tucked into like her pocket or something. No, that's a necklace.
yeah,
I mean, if you love your dog, go
She's
for
looking
it, man.
wild.
It's the Grammys. Do something different.
she's looking wild.
Yeah.
And then we got
Is that Mark Hamill?
Bob Weir.
Oh,
He's wearing
okay.
Birkenstocks and a bolo tie.
Right.
And it
no,
looks like
that's-
a
I'm gonna
dining.
have to
It looks
pass
like
on
a
that one.
freaking like sheet
Yeah.
for it, and a big belt buckle.
That's a no for
He's
me.
been to the rodeo.
Ooh.
Julia Fox is wearing.
I love sheer, so I'm on board.
I mean,
well, unless
it's
it's like
on weird. It's on the wacky weird dressed. I mean, I think she looks
really that's wacky weird.
edgy. I could have gone without the cleaning gloves.
Yeah, I don't like the gloves. Like you're
She
right.
looks like a. What are those like girls that like those like she looks like a cleaning lady, but like a
Clean.
but like with like a like some
Like
type
a
of
really
like
well-dressed cleaning lady.
exotic like dancer
Like
vibe.
an exotic cleaning lady.
like like a girl that like wears all like the chains and stuff.
I like
what
the
are those
sheer
type
and the
of-
leather jacket.
What is
oh,
that?
dominatrix.
Yeah, she looks like a dominatrix.
That's gonna clean your
cleaning
house.
Lady. Yeah.
Okay, you've ruined it for me.
I'm
At first, I was
like-
like, "Oh, look, that looks great." I like the jacket and like I like the sheer
Or it looks like
bottom.
she's gonna like steal your wallet, but also clean you in the
Oh my
process.
God.
You know? She looks like trouble to me.
She does look like trouble, but hey, some people like trouble.
But that was I got those like just from,
There was
I
some
think
really,
the best dress came from Who What Wear or
Yeah.
something.
there was some beautiful
like
ones
that.
there, like some really elegant ones. But
Yeah.
well, we always love your input on the fashion, so
For
thank you,
sure.
Sarah, for those great examples of the Grammys 2025. I always love when it comes up because I know we're going to talk about it. So.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all the time we got today. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Please leave us some comments. And if there's a topic you want us to talk about on Nip Talk, put it down there and we will do it. We'll see you next week.
Bye.